Well, thank you for joining us, Penny. We are excited to have you as a part of our Doyenne event for the WEDC Foundation's Women Honoring Women event for 2020. Thank you again for being here. We look forward to this conversation we're going to have. So first question, we want to know a little bit about you, your career path, and your education background.
Right. But as a college student, I majored in sociology and psychology. My goal at that point was to be a juvenile probation officer. And as I went through school and was graduating, I realized that if I was going to pursue that career field, I was going to need an advanced degree. And I will tell you very selfishly back at that point, I was more into pursuing the MRS degree. So I did not go on to school. And mind you, back a day ago, I'm dating myself, but after graduation, my parents were like, you're educated, now go get a job. But my parents remained convinced that for me to get a job, I would need to go to typing school. So that's really dating it because I'm showing you typing. And that just totally turned me off. But during my summers in college, I had worked at banks as a teller during my summers. So I decided I would just go the banking career. And way back when, women were not really thought of in management roles in a bank, because the typical stereotype at that point was you're going to get married, have children, and we don't want to invest in management. So I worked my way up through various banking jobs, and I think ultimately to the end it was to my betterment because I spent the whole career field. So I'm a career-long banker, and had a great time, persistence through what it was. Finally, in 2007, got my job as market president, which is what I guess I've been looking for a long time.
Okay, very interesting. Now, with all of that background and experience in banking, I'm sure you got to know a lot of people in the community. And I'm just wondering, how did you first encounter the WEDC Foundation?
Well, I'm going to preface it by saying I'm a Yankee that moved south. So I started my career in New York and then in DC. So I didn't move here until 1986. And when I got into town, I was coming from big towns to small town, but really was enjoying the opportunity to kind of connect. And it was a lot more meaningful where you really could connect. And starting with that, did reach out in certain small groups. And I was familiar with Doyenne Weston and Jerry when they formed the organization way back when, and kind of was not an original founding member, but became very enthralled with the message and the messaging of the ladies who were forming it and becoming involved with it. So that's where I became involved with WEDC. And I guess in 1998, the foundation started. So I've been kind of part of the scholar events and how it morphed from its beginning, and just have been in awe of all the different, honorees and the stories they tell. And gosh, it's overwhelming just to think of the backgrounds people have come from to get where they are.
Yes. Now you are one of our former honorees, which delegates you to being one of our initial Doyennes. Tell us about your experience when you were an honoree. Walk us through that. What was that like? How did you embrace that opportunity and that experience as being an honoree?
Well, I went back and looked at some of the paperwork from it and everything. That was back in 2013. And when I look at what even just the events have come to be since then, it really has totally changed its culture. But I also look at the others who were honorees serving at the same time. And I was very humbled to be selected as an honoree at that time. And I think the experience itself really reinforced my commitment to have to give back in the community. The scholars and their drive to succeed was totally compelling in what they were doing. I was very blessed during my education to have family support to be educated. But what amazed me is these folks are seeking to be the best person that they can be while they work, while they take care of their family, and while they get their education. So I think that made me feel that was the lift up for our community and where we needed to go and how we could build for the future of this community. Very humbled to be part of that.
Very nice. So how have you been involved with the WEDC Foundation since the year you were an honoree?
Well, I guess I'm going to say I've always been a supporter and certainly supported the scholarship programs. I did mentor one of the scholars at one point, who's gone on to be a huge success, and not to my credit, to her credit, clearly. And she's done a wonderful job with that. But I think it's also watching the scholarship program, watching that has made it more important to me to reach out to others and try and mentor, whether it's through this program or others, because it's just a wonderful process to see them take hold and be able to succeed. And the gift that's given to them with WEDC is huge.
Awesome. Well, I know a woman in your position and leadership roles here in Huntsville and North Alabama. You are inundated with lots of opportunities to help many well-deserving organizations and nonprofit groups here in the area. And I'm sure all of them are very worthy causes and support great missions, but you're one person and you simply can't say yes to everything. What was it about the WEDC Foundation that just drew you in and you felt compelled to contribute and assist again?
Well, I think you're right. The time, and when I first came in, it was, oh, yes, I want to do this, and yes, I want to do that. And then you quickly realize time is a valuable commodity, and you diced yourself a little bit too thin to be effective. So I, at that point, really made a firm, my husband got me a pillow that says, stop me before I volunteer again, and put it on the bed. But then I really decided I'd be much more judicious in selecting the causes I wanted to align with. And I felt it had to be something I could be a contributor to personally, and where I could have a personal passion for the cause. And that just saying yes to too many causes would diminish my impact. So when I was asked to participate in this program, I kind of looked back at the history of the event, the honorees before me and where they've gone. And I really felt that I could be a vital part of the community and help in that respect. So I think businesses are competitive. When you look at the women who are in them, everyone wants to be the best they can be, but the group that represented by this wants everyone to be the best that they can be, and really doesn't take a job being exclusive. They're lifting everyone up. And I think that's what really impressed me about the group and the organization.
Very good. Nicely said. Now, one of the pivotal aspects of the WEDC Foundation and what we offer to our scholars is mentors. What has your experience been with a mentor? Have you been a mentor, or did you ever have mentors along your career path?
Well, a little bit of both, I think. I've had mentors, and I'm going to have to be really trite and say my most notable mentor in my life was my dad. He was probably the most positive, commanding presence in all he did. And adversity always equaled opportunity for him. And there were a share of roadblocks along the way, but just the way he forged through it. And we had a family motto that was on our crest, and his needle pointed on everything I have around my house that says, Tentanda via est, and it's a way must be found. And I think he was very compelling with that thought behind it. And I think all through my career, there's been, and I don't think there's one mentor. I think they kind of evolve and grow and morph on it. And I think then when I came here, I befriended another person who was a mentor, honoree, Minnie Thompson, and she latched onto me and said, I'll show you the way. And to this day, she still does, and we still meet regularly, and she'll Minnie, I don't know what I should do here, and she's just great about that. So I think it's really important. But I think that also comes back to being a mentor and giving back to other people. And I think I've been pretty good about that, even starting early in my career. There's a young man I mentored back when he was younger as a teller, and watched him grow up through all management positions, took him with me to Freddie Mac. And shortly after I moved down here, I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal, a half-page article about this young man who was a non-U.S. citizen who came to the U.S. and was exceeding in his career, and was now director of sales and trading for a major government agency. And it was just very compelling. And he sends me a Christmas card every year, and he says, I owe it all to you. And it just is really makes you really feel like, wow, that's great. And So I like those things and love it when I can get teammates in my company and say, what do you want it to be? And let's figure out how we get here.
So it sounds like being a mentor was a really great experience for you. Not only were you giving guidance and parameters for someone else, you got something out of that, probably a little unexpected as well.
Totally. I mean, totally. And I absolutely do. And I don't think in many cases you go into a relationship saying I'm a mentor and you get labeled as that. I think it kind of evolves into those relationships. And it's a person that you go to and keep building on those relationships and both ways back and forth. It really is.
Okay.
It's important.
I do have one other question I want to ask you. Looking back on your career and you as a young college student, if this kind of program had been available to you or to some of your peers at the time when you were in school, do you think that this could have been a pivotal point for you and helped you along your career and educational path?
Yeah, but yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, the one thing that impresses me about the program here is it's not just an academic scholarship that hands you money to help your career. But I think what it does is the whole package. It helps you as a person evolve, manage the obstacles you're at, put the balance the life work situation, school, and it is the complete package. And that's what just really, I think I wish I'd had that in school. I had the benefit of having the academic education, but I don't think you have those other resources that really pull towards helping you be successful. Right now, I see even kids coming out of college now that I'm looking to hire or things like that. They have no sense as to what they're coming into. They've gotten their degree. And I think they really need a mentor or a sponsor to help them through those decisions and really get their life experience. I think what WDC does is just invaluable for the scholars and lifting them up, and it really sets a good trend for the future, career for success.
And you mentioned earlier that your dad had a mantra that you all had on a crest. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I a long time before I figured out what tentanda rea est meant, and so now that's my Latin experience of what I have. But for him, it was, you need to find a way. He was up in New York, he was in a road contracting company, and whether it was weather, whether it was union negotiations, whether it was someone trying to buy out the company or other things, he was like, he just dug in deeper more. And it was whenever I was kind of like, I don't want to do that, I'm going to give up, it's just not there. That wasn't an option. You have to find a way. And I think that mantra has served me well. And my brother goes, you're just as big-headed as Dad when you go into things like that. And I said, I'm going to take that as a compliment. So, and I think it is true.
So is there anything that you would like to say to the WEDC Foundation scholars and mentors and other supporters to help them really understand the impact that this organization has for them?
Well, I think they take advantage of all it has to offer and just embrace the change. Listen, embrace everything you hear and all the information you hear from everyone, and process it in your own way to what it means for you. But I just think every option and every opportunity you have to interact with someone puts a different perspective on your life and how you can interpret that. And I just think outreach in this community is just the absolute most wonderful community to do that for. It's just, I think everyone really wants to help. I formed a group for a period of time. We still have it. We had it a lot less virtually. We're going to do a virtual one coming up, but just a CEO roundtable. And it was a group of women, one new woman in town doing business, didn't know how to connect and just wanted not to be involved in business. Everything was business and wanted some way to find out who are people I can talk to. And WEDC would be great, but she couldn't make that time. We do this kind of about once a month, and it's just women helping women in a very small situation. But I think that's the most beneficial relationships I have right now. Won't you join us in helping support the WEDC Foundation?